In this video, we'll be covering branding research and more specifically, really understanding who your audience is, what they need and what they want. And I'll explain why that is so important here in just a second. But first, just for those of you who may not be as familiar, right, we want to understand what true branding really is. Because when I mention branding to a lot of my clients, they look at me and think, oh, you're talking about the logo or a tagline or my brand name or colors or things like that. And yes, those are all very important elements of branding. However, all of this is fueled, and really there's this kind of entire, as you can see here, kind of bottom of the iceberg, and that is branding strategy and branding research, okay? And that's what we're gonna be covering, and really specifically the first piece, which is, in my opinion, the most important piece of the entire branding framework, which is branding research. So here we kind of have, this is the branding framework that I use with my clients. I use it for myself. Every brander and kind of, quote unquote marketer will use a different framework, but this is really what I use and I found the best results for specifically small businesses, freelancers, entrepreneurs, and startups. So beginning with this piece, right, the first piece is the audience and competitor research piece, also known as the branding research piece, okay? Essentially, this is the bedrock. This is the ground floor of everything else, of what your entire brand is going to get built on top of. So it's extremely important that you take branding research seriously. And luckily, number one, it's really not that difficult. Number two, it does not need to be expensive either. Yes, it will take some time. It will take some effort, but it's absolutely doable for all budgets and all sized brands. So to begin, branding research. So our goal is to understand who our audience is, number one. Number two, what they need. And number three, how is our brand serving them better and differently than every single option available? So who's our audience? What do they need? And how are we serving them better and differently? So first, who are you serving? When I refer to who, what I specifically mean are understanding demographically and psychographically who your audience is. So demographics include statistics, kind of describing, so examples would be, and I'll have some examples here actually in a second, but more number-based, statistical. Psychographics tend to be more beliefs, attitudes, kind of the why. So really demographics is kind of more what we think of the who. The psychographics is kind of more of the why that people do it, right? So to give a little bit more perspective, who are you serving? Common demographic questions include age, ethnicity, education, gender, and relationships. These are all really great pieces of information and data points to really understand about your audience through branding research. And then psychographics include, but are not limited to, your audience's personality, their values, attitudes, interests, and lifestyles. So the best way to kind of answer these questions, right? For example, we have these questions here. We want to understand our audience's age, their values, their gender, their interests, all of these things. How do we get the answers to this? How do we conduct branding research? So what we're going to utilize is secondary data. This is what I recommend to all my clients. This is what I'd recommend to you. And that is to essentially collect research that already exists, right? So look at research that already exists and utilize that, because guess what? A lot of the questions that you have about your audience and your competitors, many of that has already been answered, right? People have already spent hundreds to thousands to even millions of dollars on research, and at least some of that is available for 100% free on the internet. So we're going to go and find it, and I'm going to show you kind of how to go find it as well. So step one of the easiest ways and one of the most underutilized ways, if you've watched my previous videos, you've heard me say this before, but if Google cost money, more people would use it. I honestly believe that because it's such a powerful tool, but because it's free, people undervalue it, especially branders and marketers and businesses. So if you have any question, the first place you should go is Google. This also includes YouTube. So, it's kind of one of the same. So Google or YouTube first, and a lot of times you can find surprising number of answers to your questions, especially demographic questions are going to be better usually through Google. It's a better way to kind of find statistics, but for some more in-depth and more psychographic, YouTube may be a better option, but both are really great. I'd recommend you utilize both. Okay. Number two, keyword data. Keyword data is one of the most, if not the most powerful data point that we have about our audience on earth. Why? Because people will lie to you in a survey. They will not lie to their search engine. Okay? A very important point to make. So what is keyword data, or why is it so important? What does this mean? All right. So when your customer or your audience, they have a desire, they turn that desire into a thought. So for example, I have a flat tire. So I think, how can I solve this flat tire? Oh, mechanics, right? So they think mechanics near me. They turn that desire, they kind of formulate a thought to kind of satisfy that desire. That thought is then translated into a keyword, right? They go onto their phone, they go onto their desktop, and they type keywords into a search engine like Google or YouTube in order to solve their problem. And guess what? Google and YouTube and all of these other search engines capture and provide that data, a lot of which is free for us to use. A great and free place to access all of this keyword research data and essentially read the minds of your audience is a tool called Google Keyword Planner. All right, it's free to sign up. I'll include a link in the description. And if you guys have any trouble, let me know in the comments and I will help you out as much as possible. But essentially how it works is you'll go to Google Keyword Planner, sign up an account, and then what you can do is you can actually enter keywords into Google Keyword Planner and it will show you similar related keywords and it will show you the estimated search volume. So you can see, what your audience is typing in surrounding a particular keyword, what pain points or desires that they have around a certain topic using this. In this case, right, I want to create videos about branding, or maybe I want to create, a course on branding. What I would do is I type in the term branding to see what are, people like you and me typing into search engines every single day to solve pain points around the topic of branding. So we have business name generator. That shows me that maybe business owners have a difficulty coming up with a name, right? We have Starbucks logo. So I'm sure people are researching that and getting inspiration from Starbucks logo. Brand equity. So understanding what the heck brand equity is. So maybe I include some content about brand equity because people obviously have a question about that. Personal branding. Maybe I'd compare, are people looking more for business branding or more for personal branding? So this can kind of help me, on a tactical level, help me create content, but really from a branding research perspective, it really, depending on what my questions are, can really help me understand who my audience is, what pain points they have, what desires they have by analyzing the results. So I hope that makes sense. And what you can do is you can download all the results either from Google Keyword Planner. There are also other paid tools as well that you can utilize that'll give you a sheet that looks something more like this. And you can organize, as I've done here, by search volume. And you can actually see, exactly like certain subjects are much more important or because they're searched significantly more than other subjects, for example, or other topics. So it can kind of help you, again, it helps you build a picture, and it really depends on this is a tool that can be used in many different ways. So it really depends on the way that you're using it. It'll differ on the results. In this case, I was using it kind of for content generation to understand the pain points that people have or questions they have around branding, and then I provide content around that. So that was kind of my purpose with this. But again, yeah, you can look through the data yourself. If you have any questions, let me know. Another free tool as well as UBERSUGGEST, very similar. Enter in a keyword. UBERSUGGEST will show you other similar keywords that are typed in to a certain geographic area, for example, like the United States or worldwide or the UK or whatever it may be, every month. Okay, so that's UBERSUGGEST, very similar. Another really great tool is Answer the Public. Answer the Public is a reverse search engine. So what that means is how you go to Google or YouTube, you will type in a keyword in order to get an answer to a question that you have. Answer the Public's the reverse of that. So you type in a keyword and instead of getting an answer, you get questions. And I'll show you what that looks like. So for example, I just typed in the term business. I think it was branding or it was business branding. I can't quite recall, but as you can see here, it shows different, prepositions, different nouns, different verbs, adjectives, and other forms of words that relate to the term branding. Okay, so for example, branding is everything. Branding is not just a logo. Branding is important. Branding is what we do. So that's kind of around the term is. Branding near me, branding companies near me. That's for the term near, and so on. And again, there are a few of these kind of diagrams. This one may not be the best example, but for branding. But I would highly encourage you to use Answer the Public. It is free to use. Though keep in mind you do have a limited number of free daily uses before you have to sign up an account and pay. But definitely utilize the free tool. It'll really help you, again, understand what questions your audience have. What pain points do they have? And guess what? You may find that people have certain questions about a certain topic and none of your competitors are addressing it. So you can be the brand to come in and solve that problem or fill that void. You see how that makes sense? Again, if I'm rushing, if I need to provide more detail, let me know in the comment section. Okay, so that's keyword data. Another great, maybe the most underutilized source of data is review data. Okay, think about, actually really quickly, think about what reviews are. Who leaves reviews? Generally, people that leave reviews on anything, and this could be a product, a service, a brand, a company, whatever it may be, generally people that leave reviews are either really, really happy or really, really upset with their experience with a particular brand or a product, a service, or whatever it may be. So essentially, you have all of this free research that you can access of people telling you, like in my example, hey Sumner, here's what we love about your brand. For example, I have courses on Udemy. I look through the review data to improve, my courses and ultimately my brand. I know how people are engaging and interacting with my brand because they're screaming out, Sumner, this is what we love, and Sumner, this is what we don't love. So you can kind of change and again understand the psychographics of your audience, what they need, what they want, all of that. Really great source for that. So some very popular sources of reviews include Google Business, Facebook, Yelp, Amazon.com if you're selling products like I do, Glassdoor, TripAdvisor, Better Business Bureau, Foursquare, and the list goes on. Again, this will definitely depend on your what category, what industry your brand exists in. It'll make more sense. Some of these may make more sense than others, but there are so many other sources as well. What I recommend doing, again, if you have the time or an employee or a coworker, to have somebody read through at least 100 reviews from people that are in your target demographic or your target audience, and get a better kind of demographic and psychographic understanding of them by reading through at least 100 reviews. That's kind of the that's where I find a little bit more statistically significant results. Where if you only read through like a handful, it may not be representative of the entire population. So you really want to really get a full understanding during the branding research process. So at least 100 is what I recommend. And specifically, what do you look for when analyzing reviews? Here's some things that I recommend include who's your audience? Again, from a demographic and a psychographic example. For example, if you find, and this is something that I use when I launched my new private label brand online, where I sell physical products on Amazon and Shopify and other websites as well. I want to understand, who is buying my product from a demographic perspective, and if I see on Amazon that the existing audience, are leaving reviews and their names are something like Jennifer, Tiffany, Stephanie, Brittany, Amy, over and over, then I can assume if I see the majority of names, I analyze 100 reviews and 80 of them are likely female, then I know that my audience is more female, right? That's one data point that you can pull. Understand what event or what activity or what reason is the audience purchasing the product for? What benefits does the current products or services, the current brands that exist, what benefits are they providing? What benefits is the audience getting from that? And also what pain points. So a little tip that I want to give you when you're analyzing product reviews, brand reviews, and company reviews is look at the 4-star and 2-star reviews. It's much better and much more worth your time than looking at 5-star and 1-star reviews. Because, think about it, someone who leaves a 4-star review is saying, I love the product, but XYZ. And if you see a lot of those, those buts, have this consistent flow, then for example, if Tiffany and Stephanie and Brittany and all these people are saying, but X, Y, and Z, then that's maybe where my brand, that's where we can differentiate. That's where we can solve a problem that nobody else is solving. Okay, so that's 4-star. For pain points, I really like to look at 1, 2, and 3-star reviews as well. Not just 1-star, because a lot of people are like, oh, it was crap, I hate it, well, done. Terrible service, terrible whatever. However, 2 and 3 stars is a little bit different, right? They're not, there's a reason that they didn't give all the way to a 1-star. So they're a little bit more insightful, a little bit more articulate, I should say. Great place to look for, a great source to look for, again, pain points. What is your competition not doing well that your brand could come in and solve for them? Very important aspect of branding research. Next, we're going to briefly kind of cover social listening. So social listening is the process of monitoring digital conversations to understand what customers are saying about a brand or industry online. Sorry, I had trouble reading that, but just listening to your customers and how they're interacting online. That's really the essence of this. Some great places to engage in social listening. Basically, again, just listening to your customers, seeing what they need, what they want, how they interact, what language they use. Think about it. Look at the language your audience are using or your customers are using, and then use that same language that they're using in reviews, that they're using on social media, and consider using that on your brand's website, your own social media accounts, your own other forms of copywriting. All right, that's just one example of how you can use this later on down the road in the branding process. But Facebook groups are a phenomenal way to engage with your audience. So become part of the same Facebook groups as your audience are already a part of. Again, learn what are they posting about? How often are they posting? What are they commenting on? Are they, you can, this is a great place to get an understanding, both demographically and definitely psychographically, and really deep dive into who your audience is. Okay. Another great place to look for data is Reddit. So again, you can join, if you're not familiar with Reddit, you can join and become part of subreddits for certain topics. So in this case, maybe if I was a small business consultant, I would type in the term small business, and I see that, the subreddit of small business and also entrepreneur pop up. So I want to join both of those and become part of the conversation. And again, understand who my audience is, what their pain points are, what they need. Again, it's the same story over and over, but just kind of solidifying that. And you can see that there. Lastly, a really popular source, especially if your brand engages in business-to-business commerce, go to LinkedIn. You can type in certain keywords, but what I really like to do is type in a hashtag, okay? And a hashtag is different from a keyword, simply that it has literally a hashtag, what some of you may think of as the pound sign, following right before and actually connected to the word. So for example, if I type in hashtag branding, I'm going to find not necessarily every single piece, but some of the top trending posts relating to the term branding that have the hashtag branding in the content. And that's going to help me see what are people saying about the topic of branding. So, depending on what your business is, think about topics that people are talking about and look for those hashtags. And what we can also do is actually follow those hashtags. So if I follow the hashtag branding and I'm logged into LinkedIn, and I just check into LinkedIn for 15 minutes a day, I can start to see what people, at least overall in LinkedIn, are talking about regarding the topic of branding. Okay, and this can get as specific or as broad as you want. Again, it completely depends on your business. Those are three great places. Facebook groups, Reddit, and LinkedIn are really, really great places for social listening, as well as Hashtagify. Hashtagify, as we mentioned earlier, Google Keyword Planner and some of these other keyword research tools are really great for keyword research. Hashtagify is a tool for hashtag research. So hashtags are kind of like keywords for places like LinkedIn. Facebook uses it a little bit. But really, Twitter and Instagram are two very popular places that really utilize hashtags. And when you want to search for content on Twitter or Instagram, you don't type in a keyword, right? You type in you type in a hashtag. So Hashtagify is going to show you popular hashtags. How popular a particular hashtag is, other related hashtags that are popular. For example, I typed in hashtag branding. Some other related hashtags include hashtag leadership, design, business, marketing. So that shows me, people interested in the topic of branding are also interested in marketing, which is makes sense, right? They're also interested in brand. That's something else that makes sense. But some other things that maybe didn't make as much sense is leadership branding. So leadership and branding, business and branding. Business and branding versus maybe it's more popular than personal branding. We have design branding as well. So these are some other common terms. We can look at some top influencers for the following topics, etc. So just another kind of data point that you can utilize for your branding research, okay? Some top social platforms, some we already covered, some others, and they're not specifically social platforms, but these are some other platforms that you can see how people are socializing, they're engaging, they're asking questions, and those include Quora, which is a giant, I think it's the largest Q&A website in the world, but if it's not the biggest, it's one of the largest. Quora, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest, okay? And lastly, one last thing I wanted to cover, I know this is a lot, but I hope you guys are finding this valuable, is Google Analytics, okay? If your brand has a website and you're not using Google Analytics, at the end of this video, what I want you to do is go sign up for a Google Analytics account. I'm going to have a link in the description below. Get an account. It is 100% free. And basically what's going to happen is Google Analytics, when you sign up for an account, they're going to give you a piece of code. What you do is you take that code, you install it on your website, or you have your techie nephew or best friend or the guy that does your website, or girl, you're going to give it to them and they're going to install it for you and kind of help you out there. And what that's going to do is for free, it's crazy how this is free. Google's automatically going to collect data and analytics from people that use your website. And it's going to really help you build a demographic understanding of who your audience is. Some data points, I've just attached a few screenshots here, but there's a lot more data that it covers. So you can see where they're coming from. So you can see top, social platforms that they're coming from, time of day that they utilize, they're on your website. You can see their, sorry about that. You can see their average, the average gender, the device that they use, all these other kind of great data points. Some may be more beneficial to you in the branding research process than others. However, this is super powerful. If you're not utilizing it, you should be utilizing it today. It's free, it's easy to set up, and it's a really great source of data for your audience specifically, and you don't have to lift a finger to do it. Or it's a little bit of work to set up, and then after that, it's completely nothing. So that concludes our branding research. I hope you guys found it valuable, and if you'd like even more value, I just want to let you know of my extremely affordable business branding course available on Udemy, between $10 to $20 depending on what promotion Udemy is running. Very, very affordable, 3 hours long. Currently have a 4.7 star rating, which I'm so thankful for. I essentially take all of the information that I've learned about branding and will continue to learn and improve about branding for myself and my clients. And I give that away extremely inexpensively and ultimately help small businesses, freelancers, and entrepreneurs truly build extraordinary brands on extremely tight budgets. You do not need a lot of money to build an extraordinary brand at all. It's a myth. And I'm trying to help entrepreneurs and small business owners to do exactly that. Just for perspective, and this is only one part of branding, of course, but Twitter paid $15 for their logo. BP paid well over $1 million for their logo. Okay. And some would argue that Twitter has a more iconic logo. But that's a whole nother discussion. That's just one example of some of the content that I cover here and kind of how to design a logo among all these other topics, which you kind of got a taste of right here, which is, again, the first and most important section. So hope you found this helpful. If you want access to this course, there'll be a link in the description section. If you have any questions at all, be sure to let me know in the comments, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. Again, I hope this was immensely valuable to you, and I look forward to seeing you in future videos.